I've been watching Dr. Kent Hovind for about a decade now. And when I did the interview with him, I expected some backlash. I expected some vulgar comments, and I got them. But what did he actually go to prison for? What was his crime? Well, let's find out, shall we?
What happened?
We had a lot of college students working at our ministry, and they'd come whenever they could for a couple hours between their college schedule. So we kept cash on hand. We paid them cash, and they paid their own taxes, okay? One of the trustees of the ministry said, Kent, Congress passed a law. If you take out over $10,000 from your bank, the bank has to fill out a form called a cash transaction report. They can fill out all the forms they want. I don't care. So the drug dealers who were dealing in cash, they would go in the morning and take out $9,500, go in the afternoon and take out $9,500, and it would not trigger the bank to fill out the form. So Congress passed another law in their great brilliance and says if you do 2 transactions in one day that are less than $10,000, but they total over $10,000, you have now structured your transactions to evade the reporting requirement. We never did that. Once every 2 weeks, my wife would go to the bank, take out $9,500 to keep cash on hand for paying all the bills we did around there. Several times took out over $10,000, and the bank filled out their form. I don't care about the bank filling out a form. I've never taken drugs of any kind. So when they came in and arrested me for structuring, 45 times they said, you took out less than $10,000. Yeah, we never did over 10,000. And if they did over 10, they'd fill out their form. It's a form the bank has to do. So my attorney said, Kent, don't even give a defense. There's no crime here. You didn't do anything wrong. The judge at sentencing said, Mr. Hovind, this crime you committed is worse than rape. Normally you get 6 months for structuring. I'm going to give you 10 years. We paid the $4,000 to get this transcript of the trial so we could do an appeal. You got to do the appeal within 12 months. They waited 14 months to give me the transcript and changed it. They took out the worst stuff.
Wow.
8 people signed affidavits said, I heard the judge say that. The judge, who's still on the bench down here, I believe, Margaret Casey Rogers, she was the judge in my trial, gave me 10 years in prison for taking her own money out of her own bank. I did not commit a crime. And somebody asked me, if you owe a tax, pay it. I've never been a tax protester. I believe everybody should obey the law, including the government.
Is there anything you could have done different in hindsight to prevent what sounds like a crime?
No, I had no clue they were even looking at me, okay, because I wasn't doing anything wrong. And the reason that when they came in and said, get every DVD number 5, The Dangers of Evolution, that's the clue. That's what they're really wanting, is to shut me up. One paralegal guy spent 15 or 18 months investigating everything. He read every document. He said, they broke 100 laws to put you in prison.
Wow.
They went through 3 juries. The first 2 juries refused to find me guilty. They kept calling new juries till one found me guilty. Jury shopping. That's illegal. While I was in prison, they moved me 32 times.
No way.
They call it diesel therapy. They shut this guy up, hoping during transfer one of the goofy inmates will kill you or something, you know.
So you moved 4 times a year-ish?
Oh,
5
yeah.
times? Yeah.
Started right here in Pensacola. My family could come see me, and ended up in New Hampshire, Colorado. I was all over the place.
Wow.
And a lot of time locked on a bus, you know. But hey, I held Bible study 4 times a day, led 800 men to the Lord, answered over 8,000 letters. Half the Bible's written from prison. I didn't like it. I don't want to go again, but hey, God's good.
Yeah, you made the most of it.
Yeah.
Now, if you think he committed a crime after watching that, I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, well, that's just coming from his mouth. Of course he's going to say something that's going to make him look better. All right, well, don't take his word for it. Go look at the actual public records of what happened. It's all public record. Go take a look. They shut him up because they didn't want him talking about, well, he said it himself. When you start saying that especially if you have a larger audience. Now for me, I'm a nobody. They don't care about what I say because I don't have much of an audience. But for someone like him, he was getting up there, and he was able to get a very large crowd. A lot of ears were hearing him. That's what they don't like. You still think he committed a crime? Okay, I respect your opinion. I disagree, but that's fine. So, that's why I think and believe and know he didn't commit any crime. It was to shut him up. And in all honesty, Donald Trump should pardon him. And that's what I'm shooting for here. Is he ever going to see this video? Probably not. But it would be a good thing for him to do. Someone who really didn't commit any crime, and yet they're being persecuted. And he spent 9 years in prison. Who wants to do that? I certainly would not want to. Now, there is a February 1st broadcast that Kent Hovind did. You can find it on all of his channels, and I will leave a link down below in the description. But it's to his Rumble. With that said, there's going to be a lot of this. I'll show you a little bit, but a lot of this I have to cut and censor, not because I want to, but because of the guidelines at YouTube. You can follow the link and watch the full video there, but I'll give you a little taste of what it says, and I especially want to show you what he is asking for as far as President Trump is concerned.
It's sad reality of living in a small community where some people have nothing better to do than spread rumors and make themselves look good. Paul said in Acts 24, they neither found me in the temple. I wasn't arguing with anybody. I wasn't causing any trouble. I guess nothing's changed in 2,000 years. Well, he answered for himself, neither against the law, neither against the temple, nor yet against Caesar have I offended anything at all. I will maintain my innocence. I did not break any laws. However, they did great damage to me, and President Trump, I'd like you and your team to see the simple steps to fix it, okay? My answer to your question, Matthew, starts with this woman right here, Margaret Casey Rogers. She was the federal judge in my case in Pensacola, Florida. Complaint board. Wow, what do they got to say? Margaret Casey Rogers review. Let's see. Judge Margaret Casey Rogers is a bizarre individual who's completely unethical and biased in her rulings. That's the one put me in prison for 10 years for no crime at all. She should be investigated, and when found guilty, she should be confined to prison. That's what the complaints board said. This woman is a completely unfit person to be a judge. To show how deranged she is, she claimed Pastor Hovind's supposed crimes were worse. While in prison, Kent highlighted the fact that judges are allowed to invest in the prison industrial complex. President Trump, I wrote a book on this called The Kennel. I did it under a false name because I didn't want to get in trouble, writing about how judges, congressmen, lawyers are allowed to own stock in the prison system. So the longer they lock people up, the more money they make on their secondary investment. President Trump, please issue an executive order that nobody involved in law enforcement or making laws is allowed to also own stock in the prison system. Prison industries, who supplies the clothing, the food, the transportation, they own stock in that stuff. Stop that. That ought to be criminal. Please. Do something about it, okay? Number one mind-blowing thing that happened to Kent is that he now faces another 100 years in prison. For February 9th, 2025, the trial could be moved to March. What crime did he commit? He mailed a Liz Penzance to the title of the property. Litigation, still pending, don't sell that property. They seized the church property and were going to sell it. I simply filed a Liz Penzance. Wait a minute, this case ain't over yet. They threatened me with 100 more years in prison for sending a letter to the court. That's the justice system being weaponized, okay? Agent Scott M. Schneider made my wife open the safe, found $42,000 or more, and made up a tax bill on the spot for the exact amount and seized all the cash. Judge dismissed 2 juries, would not find us guilty, and called a 3rd jury. Anyway, you can read I'll send this letter to all of you. Here's what I want you to do. Have the proper authority look into my case, since there was no statute of limitations on fraud, and I want President Trump to de-weaponize the Justice Department. I want you to expose the evil done to me and our Christian ministry for everybody to see. I want you to impeach or jail the judge and others involved if need be. I want you to overturn the case and restore my integrity and reputation, or at the least, give me a presidential pardon. I want you to make them return the money they stole from our ministry. I want them to pay the damages they caused and leave me alone. I'm a 72-year-old Baptist preacher trying to serve the Lord now for 56 years. I love my Lord, I love my country, and my calling in life. If you're not the right one to help me fix this gross injustice, please tell me who is. If you need any help on your projects or goals to bring America back, call me. I'll give you my cell phone in the letter. I'm not going to give it out publicly here. Help me out. I would like all of you, if you love justice, you love our country, you want to get it back, copy this video, post it on your channel. Post it everywhere you want.